The Life Coaching Toolbox Podcast is brought to you by Joeel and Natalie Rivera of Transformation Academy. In this episode, Joeel talks about irrational thinking, cognitive distortions, Part 2. This episode is one of 11 episodes in a series about CBT and REBT, which are powerful tools for coaching and together provide a human mind owner's manual.
Welcome back. Now we're going to go over the second part of cognitive distortions. And we're going to start with blaming. So on the other end of the spectrum, from people who personalize everything, they're the people that never really take responsibilities for their action. This fallacy of blaming leads us to blame others for what goes wrong and not just the outcomes. We even blame others for our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors without even realizing that we can always choose our emotions and behavior. The next one is fallacy of fairness. See, this is another common fallacy. We would all like to believe that life is fair, wouldn't we? However, reality is that life can be unfair at times. Unfairness can cause negative emotions. Some people may find themselves judging a situation based on whether something is fair or not, rather than looking at the objective reality, which will only lead to anger, resentment, and hopelessness. Therefore, it's important to come to an acceptance that sometimes some things will go our way and some things won't, and that we can always choose to make the best of any situation instead of judging it, which really adds another layer of stress and anger. Another aspect of this is the just world hypothesis, which is the belief that the world is just, and therefore, if something bad happens to someone, it has to do because they deserved it. They're bad. There's something wrong with them. See, this can lead people to judge, reject, and blame others because of the bad things that happen to them in their own life. So even if it's clearly not their fault, people also judge, reject, and blame themselves. And when bad things happen to them, they believe it means that they are bad as well. Obviously, this doesn't have a positive outcome for their own life. The next one is fallacy of change. This is the belief and expectation that we can change others to meet our needs. A person experiencing this may put pressure on others and attempt to force them to meet his or her needs. Not only do they believe others can or will change and bend to their will, which they won't, the main issue is the belief that their own success and happiness really depends on other people being what they want them to be and meeting their needs. This leads to a lack of taking personal responsibility for meeting their own needs and constant resentment for both parties when the attempt at forcing someone to change are unsuccessful. And we've seen this a lot when we deal with couples where they have this perception that they can force someone else to changing to be that person that meets their needs. The next one is always being right. People who tend to be perfectionists may experience this. This is the belief that we must be right or correct. Therefore, being wrong is unacceptable and we'll do whatever we must do to prove that we're right, even when we're wrong. Agreeing to disagree does not exist in those people's world, and they may have destructive relationships and they try to be right at all costs. Many times, they're also unable to really admit their own mistakes, be fair, or even open to others' views or belief system. The next one is heaven's reward fallacy. This is the belief system that suffering and hard work is what will lead to just reward. This may lead to someone creating unnecessary suffering in their life. It can also lead to people getting frustrated when their hard work or suffering does not lead to the expected result. Sometimes, no matter how hard you work on something or how much you suffer through a situation, it will not lead to reward or to achieve what you thought that it would achieve. We can also think of it from the perspective of karma and assume that if we do good, that a reward or something good must occur. Good has to occur, but it does not. So when it doesn't happen, it doesn't meet our expectations, or people do not react in a way that we expected, we may feel frustrated, angry, and even get depressed from it. The next one is mental filter. Mental filters are very similar to overgeneralization. This is where a person may focus completely on one thing, such as the negative aspects of a situation, without being able to see the other side of the positive or the positives. For example, a person may have a conversation and hear one negative thing, and that conversation is one negative. Then the other person said, they then neglect to recognize or remember all the positive things that the person said. See, this tendency can lead us to only focus on the negative things around us. This can also happen if we have bad things happen to us in the morning and then expect that we are going to have a bad day because of it. We then filter out everything good in our day and only focus on the negative things, which then ends up proving our prediction correct and makes us feel bad. Our bad morning really ruin our whole day, but it's again a self-fulfilling prophecy that we just created. The next one is disqualifying the positive. On the other side, we have disqualifying the positives, and this is when we do recognize the positive, but instead of accepting them, we reject them. For example, if someone gives you a compliment, instead of accepting it like, yeah, I do that good or whatever it may be, we feel that the person is just saying it to be nice to us and that they do not really mean it. This can lead us to develop a negative thought habit in which we focus on the negative even when positives are presented or when we are presented with things that counter our negativity. We might assume that if we were successful at something, even though we think that we're failures, we might say, well, it's just luck. So again, we neglect to really see the positive sides of this to really understand that there are positive sides.
Visit transformationacademy.com/toolbox to download free life coaching worksheets that go with the activities discussed in this podcast, plus other resources for creating a thriving life coaching business.